Mary Landrieu this morning must be thinking, with friends like my fellow Democrats in the Senate, who needs enemies? And Bill Cassidy over there on the House side saying, look, who's better able to serve Louisiana? Somebody who can get the votes of his own party or somebody who falls short? Let's start with the Keystone Pipeline failing by one vote in our House of Lords there yesterday. It was fun to watch. And I'm sure Stephen Moore wants the Keystone Pipeline completed. In fact, I know he does. And he's probably not too worried because we come back in January and start again. Good morning, Stephen Moore. He is the chief economist at the Heritage Foundation and a regular contributor to the John and Amy Show. Hi, Stephen. How are you, sir?
Good morning, guys. And yes, I am with the 75% of other Americans who desperately want to see this pipeline built. I was quite shocked, actually, guys, that the Democrats voted this down less than 2 weeks after this incredible election that we had. It's like they didn't hear any of the messages from the voters who wanted to see jobs programs, who want energy independence. And, only someone who is in the throngs of the radical Greens would oppose a project that would create 40,000 jobs for American blue-collar, middle-class workers.
But people dispute that number. Some say it'll only create part-time jobs for up to 2 years, and that in the long run, it's only going to sustain 2,000 jobs.
Well, it's interesting that liberals are saying that because they're the same people who say we need all these public works programs, right? We need all these infrastructure programs. Yep. That's the president's economic message, and he's saying that the Keystone Pipeline, which is going to be privately built, won't create full-time and permanent jobs. But these road projects will. I mean, it's a total contradiction. But more importantly than the jobs, Amy, is what this will do for our energy future. As you know, we've talked about this so many times on the show. The oil and gas industry in this country is the biggest booming industry in America right now. It is creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. We want this energy. We want to have a secure infrastructure so we can get our oil and gas around the country and around the world. I'd love to see us, by the way, we should start, when using these pipelines, and also, we should be exporting this stuff to Europe, and no better way to really defang Putin in Russia than to start exporting our natural gas.
I kept thinking yesterday President Obama got off easy because he didn't have to veto something from a fellow Democrat. I'm really, quite frankly, in a state of shock. I could understand before the election, Democrats not voting for this kind of project. But look, one of the messages I think of the election was people want jobs. They are so concerned about the economy. They're so concerned about the high unemployment rate. The real unemployment rate is about 10%. And it's amazing because the liberals say, "Oh no, we can't build this pipeline because it's going to contribute to global warming." And I looked at the exit polling, and the top three issues are basically jobs, the economy, and economic security. And the last on the list, about 30 issues, is global warming. People don't share the president's, kind of deranged syndrome that somehow global warming is the greatest catastrophe facing the planet.
If, in fact, the Keystone Pipeline goes ahead, which it will after probably January, he'll veto it, and then they'll override it.
Well, don't forget, John, the president has a veto.
I know, but they can override that veto with Democratic help.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope you are right.
So it's going to happen. However, it could be construed as an act of war. One more wrinkle here. The South Dakota-based Rosebud Sioux tribe on the reservation, sovereign nation, if you will, said that it will be an act of war to try to put the Keystone Pipeline, the final piece of the Keystone Pipeline. There's 4 parts of the Keystone Pipeline that have already been completed, by the way. We're really arguing over the 5th. That South Dakota-based Native American tribe says that will be considered an act of war. That'll be fun to watch the president have to deal with that.
Yeah, that's a new one. I had not actually heard about that. Look, this will create jobs on the reservations. So, I don't know about this particular Indian reservations, but most have very high unemployment rates. They need jobs. These would bring jobs to their reservations and for the Native Americans. So why would they oppose it?
Stephen Moore is here, the chief economist at the Heritage Foundation. We want to turn your attention to Jonathan Gruber, MIT economist. I'm sure you've known him in the past or come across him. What do you make of these cascading videos now which the American people, they finally have some validation that we were lied to in the selling of the Affordable Care Act. And how useful can it be to Mitch McConnell and John Boehner going forward and trying to at least remove some of the worst aspects of this law?
Yeah, this is quite devastating to President Obama and the Democrats who voted for Obamacare and who constructed it, because for those of you who haven't been paying attention to this, and it's hard not to pay attention to it because it's been the number one story for the last 5 or 6 days, Jonathan Gruber, who's one of the architects of the Obamacare law, basically said that we lied about the numbers, we made them up, we fooled the American people, and we think the people who actually bought into this were stupid and didn't really understand how it worked. And of course, they made it so incredibly complicated. It was intentionally complicated so people couldn't figure it out, and that's what Gruber told us. So we were sold a false bill of goods. The American people. The numbers do not add up. It is going to worsen health care for the American people. It is going to blow a hole in the deficit, and I think this provides incredible steam for those of us who think this was a horrible law in the first place and want to see. I agree with you. I don't think the whole law is going to be repealed, but I think major components of it, like the employer mandate requiring, employers with more than 50 workers to provide the Obamacare coverage, I think things like that are going to be toast, and I think those votes are going to come, right when Congress reconvenes in January.
Stephen, do you know personally Jonathan Gruber? And are you distancing yourself from him? If you do know him?
I don't hang out with people like that.
Oh, come on. He looks like a lot of fun.
That guy's pretty creepy, isn't he? I mean, if you watch the tapes, videotapes, you can watch them on YouTube. I mean, he makes my skin crawl. The way he's this is modern day liberalism. They're a bunch of arrogant people who say how much they care about poor people, but they don't think they can make decisions for themselves. And I remember when this passed, which was 2009, 5 years ago. All the things that I was saying and the Wall Street Journal editorial page was saying, that this was all, house of cards, that the whole thing was going to tumble, that they were lying about the numbers. Jonathan Gruber, the architect, on tape says, yes, we knew the only way we were going to get this passed through Congress is to make up the numbers and fabricate them. And that's what they did. And that's, by the way, one of the reasons healthcare costs are continuing to expand, why people are rejecting Obamacare coverage. They can't afford it.
Stephen, we'll leave it there for this morning, but as always, thanks so much for your time. We follow you, of course, at the Heritage Foundation website there and appreciate your analysis.
All right. Enjoy all that global warming in Chicago.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Take care. Stephen Moore on our turnkey.pro answer line.